Brazilian Defense Minister released a report highlighting there was nothing that substantiated claims of electoral fraud for some of Bolsonaro's supporters after his defeat. In Lebanon, for the first time, Parliament postpones the election of the nation's president. Political divisions prevent parties from reaching an agreement. The summit of the Associations of Southeast Asian Nations kicked off in Cambodia with an agenda focused on the economy and situation in Myanmar. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. The Brazilian Defense Ministry released a report highlighting there was nothing that substantiates or backs claims of fraud from some President Jair Bolsonaro supporters protesting since October 30 defeat at the country's presidential elections. The report, however, does suggest creating a commission comprised of members of the civil society and auditing entities to further investigate the functioning of the electronic voting machine. The limitations of ONO were the same ones analysts have been complaining about for decades, but it did not point to evidence of irregularities. This was the first comment by the military on the runoff elections as a transition has begun for President-elect Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva inauguration on January the 1st. Brazilian President-elect Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva met with parliamentarians from allied parties to strengthen the agenda and harmony between the benches of power in view of the transfer of power. President-elect Lula da Silva met with the head of the Chamber of Deputies, Artur Lira, Rodrigo Pacheco of the Senate, and Rosa Weber of the Federal Supreme Court. During the conversation, the head of the Chamber of Deputies expressed to the president-elect his willingness to help in the governance of his administration. For his part, Lula shared that Brazil has no more time for insults and harder while discarding the possibility that President Jair Bolsonaro will issue a coup allegations after his attempt to ignore his failure at the polls on October 30. In the framework of its 8th conference in Colombia, the Puebla Group seeks to advance a new progressive agenda to Latin America. Several former presidents, parliamentarians, civil servants, academics, and jurists debated during the day on the integration of Latin America and the Caribbean, given that the new political scenario opened up by the left with the triumph of Lula da Silva in Brazil and the election of Gustavo Petro in Colombia. As a central theme, the international representative discussed the challenges faced by each country, while at the same time delving into other issues such as the need to harmonize integrationism organizations. During the activity, the former president of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff, highlighted political and economic integration as a regional integration agenda.
Is to economically integrate Latin America. We know that the most important thing in the foreign policy in the region, without Latin America, we will not be able to participate in the different political blocs. Therefore, for us, the management of Latin America is central, and this becomes one of the first measures.
The former president of Colombia, Ernesto Samper, urged to renew the regional progressive agenda to move forward on the neoliberal model.
We cannot just stay where we are. We have to renew the progressive agenda. We cannot just continue fighting the neoliberal model, which of course is self-defeating. We have to have an alternative, and that alternative is the solidarity model of development that is being proposed by the Puebla Group, and which has 4 or 5 elements that could be part of a new agenda for Latin America.
The former president of the government of Spain, José Luis Rodríguez, emphasized that only Latin American with moral authority is capable of advancing the values of dialogue and peace.
So that these values of peace, dialogue, of the policy of cooperation once again become widely accepted by the majority, with peace in Colombia, with collaboration with Venezuela. So only Latin America can, with other countries, only Latin America can say, with moral authority, with leadership, we are not going to accept a new Cold War. We are not going to accept it.
Social and community organizations in Puerto Rico coordinate strategies to confront the Governor Pedro Pierluisi's intentions to push on an increase in electricity rates. About 8 groups asked the Puerto Rican Senate to pass the bill to restructure the $9 billion debts of the State Electric Power Authority, whose privatization process has already been initiated by the government. The spokeswoman for the citizens from the body declared that the Puerto Rican people will now endure an increase in the electric rate, so all social and political sectors will have to unite and to avoid it. We'll take our very first break now, but remember you can now follow us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, in teleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. The 6th International Cooperation Conference of the Association of the Caribbean States opened in Havana. The main objective of the event is to discuss transformation and innovation in the Caribbean region. The inaugural session was attended by Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermúdez, the President of the Council of Ministry of the organization, Mario Adolfo Bucaro. During the 2 days, the representative of the members of the association will establish alliances for the economic integration of the Caribbean, especially in trade, transport, sustainable tourism, and natural disasters. During the event, Guatemala's Foreign Minister, Mario Bucaro Flores, also spoke of hope, unity, and resilience in the greater Caribbean at a time when dialogue and international cooperation are essential for the region. The Venezuelan government reported that 209 nationals arrived from Peru as part of the return to the homeland plan. According to the Transportation Minister Ramon Velázquez, the plan is a humanitarian measure implemented by President Nicolás Maduro to facilitate the return of Venezuelans to the country. Velázquez explained that the plan also strengthens family reunion, particularly relevant during Christmas season. It is worth noting that the return to the homeland plan was created for Venezuelans to return to their country and not cause. Since 2018, over 29,000 nationals in vulnerable situations had returned to the territory. In Ecuador, the Court of Appeal of the National Court of Justice overturned the 80 years prison sentence against former Vice President Jorge Glass, accused of aggravated bribery. On grounds of violation of due process, the court, formed by the judges Luis Rivera, Felipe Córdoba, and Daniela Camacho, unanimously overturned the conviction and declared the entire criminal process as null and void from the moment the State Attorney General's office failed the charges. The news is aligning with the version of Glass' defense, which points out the case was an act of lawfare against a recognized leader of the citizens' revolution. The Vice President of Argentina, Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, announced she will seek to remove Federal Judge Maria Eugenia Capuchetti due to the irregularities in the case of the assassinations attempts that took place on September the 1st. On audiovisual material detail the alternative of the case and the irregularities committed by the Capuchetti during the investigation, according to the Vice President's lawsuit. The material showed the assassination attempts was the most serious action in a series of violent attacks against the Fernandez de Kirchner. The day after the attempt, witnesses provide information about Congressman Gerardo Milman and his alleged involvement in the assassination attempt against Fernandez, which led to the judge's dismissal request. French President Emmanuel Macron met with his Serbian counterpart Alexander Vučić for a bilateral meeting at the Elysee Palace on the sidelines of the Paris Peace Forum. On the forum sidelines, the Serbian head of state will also have several bilateral meetings with European Union officials and countries participating in the forum. President Vučić will meet as well with the head of European diplomacy, Josep Borrell, the European Union's special representative for dialogue between Belgrade and Pristina, Miroslav Lajčák, and the president of Hungary, Natalie Novak. Protesters from the environmentalist group Just Stop Oil climbed on top of the United Kingdom motorway Grand Tours on Thursday for a fourth day of protests. Footage showed police removing a person from the Grand Tour on the M25 motorway and placing them into a police van. According to reports, Exi and Surrey police officers were leading with activists climbing entry on different junctions of the motorway. The group Just Stop Oil demanded the British government to halt new oil and gas projects in the country. The protesters have drawn attention and criticism for targeting artworks in museums. They have also blocked bridges and intersections across London during 2 weeks of protests. The Civil Protection System in Panama declared an intermediate yellow alert in 6 provinces due to heavy rains and strong winds. Civil protection authorities stated that at least 6 provinces are on alert, including the province of Panama and adjacent areas to the Bayano River Basin. In this regard, the specialist from the Emergency Operations Center, Maltese Rivera, warned about weather deteriorating gradually in the regions under green alert and urged the population to stay informed. The expert also warned about possible floods and river overflows. We have more news coming up after this financial break, so don't go away. Welcome back. Presidential vacuum continues in Lebanon. The Lebanese parliament has announced the postponement until next week of the session due to elect the new president of the republic as the political blocs failed to reach a consensus on a candidate. The voting results on the 5th session held this Thursday are the 47 white card, 44 for the Michael Mowed, with 6 for the Isaim Khalifa and New Lebanon, 1 each for the Said Hayed, Said Baroud and Lebanon, and 1 annul. Parliament's Speaker Navid Berri said the next Thursday, the date for the 6th session, the official Lebanese news agency reported. In Palestine, Israeli forces repressed demonstrators celebrating the 80th anniversary of the death of Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. Following a demonstration in Ramallah, supporters of the late leader clashed with Israeli soldiers north of the city, where the military forces maintained the checkpoint known as the CO. The soldiers used tear gas and rubber bullets in response to attacks with stones and blunt objects by the demonstrators. Similar clashes took place in other locations adjacent to Ramallah. And it started on Thursday and rolling out until Sunday. The summit of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations takes place in Cambodia with an agenda focused on the economy and situation in Myanmar. After 2 years of being held virtually because of the pandemic, the summit will bring together the leaders of the bloc with other leaders from countries such as China, Russia, India, Japan, and South Korea, and representatives of the United Nations Organization. In addition, they are expected to discuss missile exchanges between Pyongyang and Seoul, tensions in the South China Sea, and the trade and diplomatic disputes between Washington and Beijing. The Secretary General of the Association of the Southeast Asian Nations, China Senator Shi Xiong-yun, reaffirmed his country and Asian nations are expected to deepen cooperation in the future as the ties between them have been elevated to a comprehensive strategic partnership.
We have maintained our people-to-people exchanges against the backdrop of the pandemic. Through the increase of direct flights between China and ASEAN countries, more students from ASEAN countries are returning to China to resume classes in an orderly manner. We have strengthened exchanges and cooperation in education, culture, and tourism through numerous online and offline activities that attracted tens of thousands of people, especially youth, from both sides.
At a press conference in Beijing on Thursday, Chinese Foreign Minister spokesman Zhou Lijian said his country will continue to work with the rest of the international community to oppose acts of economic coercion and bullying in science and technology on the part of some countries.
We will continue to work with the rest of the international community to oppose acts of economic coercion and bullying in sci-tech, to jointly safeguard stability of the structure, rules, and foundation of the world economy, as well as security of the global industry and supply chains. In the meantime, we will also use this import-export as an opportunity to continue opening up to the outside world, to create convenience for companies from other countries in making investment and developing business in China, and to jointly build up a more united, more prosperous future.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said on Thursday that normalization of relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan is a prerequisite to the normalization of relations between Armenia and Turkey. At a press conference before the Living for the Organization of Turkey State Summit in Uzbekistan, President Erdogan stated that at the last meeting with the Armenian government, which took place in Prague, he clearly emphasized to Armenia they need to start relations with Azerbaijan in a positive direction in order to develop good relations with Turkey. Meanwhile, Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan told his cabinet during a meeting that he proposed creating a militarized zone along its border with Azerbaijan and around the breakaway region of Nagorno-Karabakh. The two countries twice went to war over Azerbaijan's Armenia-populated enclave in the 90s and in 2020, while in September, more than 200 people from both sides were killed in new clashes. During a meeting hosted by Russian President Vladimir Putin on October the 31st, both sides pledged not to use force to resolve the conflict. And we have a disclaimer to announce. Our Facebook page has been hacked and currently displaying content out of our agenda and against our social, moral, political, and informative premises. We stress that teleSUR English is not responsible for these posts that violate Facebook community standards. We hope this company will give us back our credentials as soon as possible and resume our regular posts on that social network. Now we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For teleSUR English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.